right, welcome into the C3 Panthers podcast. I don't have my producer here with me, so I missed playing the intro, but we're just going to jump right into the show. My name's Tony Dunn. I'm here with former defensive back safety for the Detroit Lions, Glover Quin. Welcome to the C3 Panthers podcast.
What's up, man? Glad to be here.
Man, you guys started out 3-1 atop of the division. The Lions look to be for real, or at least they're trying to prove it. Just how real is this Detroit Lions team?
And man, they look good. Not just this year. Going all the way back to last year, they finished the season, I think 8-2 in the last 10 games, or 9-2, or some kind of way. They finished very hot at the end of last season, so they get the big win in Green Bay, the last game of the season. They ride that momentum all the way into the offseason, and they had a good draft, taking Jameer Gibbs and Jack Campbell and Sam Laporta. Guys that are Brian Branch, guys that are contributing to the team immediately and helping those guys out. And so they've had a good offseason, and they've come into this year, with a big win on the road opening night against Kansas City. Came back home, and I think Seattle just has their number. Seattle just has their numbers. Nothing. They just don't play
going
good.
Back to the playoffs, right? A long time ago. Was that
2016?
Yeah.
When I was in Detroit.
That's right. That's right.
Even 2000, that year. Yeah, even 2015 when we played them on Monday night, and you had the Calvin Johnson, Cam Chancellor punch the ball out, KJ Wright knock it out the back of the end zone play on Monday Night Football, right?
Who was that running back in 2016? Rawls?
For who?
Or the Seahawks. They just had some random guy like that, and he just ran all over. Yeah, they've had the Lions number for sure.
Right. So then, they come back and they go and get, a big win against the Falcons, and then come back and beat, Green Bay, beating teams that they should beat. I think they were favored probably in all of those games except for the Chiefs, and they beat the Chiefs. They probably were favored against Seattle and lost, and they probably were favored against, the Falcons and the Bears. So right now they're winning games that they're supposed to win. You know what I'm saying? And so this week coming up, Carolina, truth be told, this is a game that they're supposed to win.
Yeah. And so that's kind of been the challenge for Detroit in some of these past years, is right when you feel like they're starting to break through as a team, it's just the games that they're supposed to win, they haven't. In fact, that kind of started last year. Or not started, it happened last year, may have kicked off that run, that 9-2 run you're talking about, when they went to Carolina, and Carolina ran 322 yards on them, and the Panthers just weren't a good team, and they couldn't get that offense together.
Right. They know that, that happened to them last year. And I don't know. I think that was part of one of the losses in that 9-2 run, because I think they played them back in December. It was towards the end of the year. And they were really trying to make a playoff push, and they lost that game in Carolina, and that hurt them. Because if they win that game in Carolina, they may not be dependent on Seattle to lose in week 17 to make it to the playoffs. But they lost that game to Carolina, and you're right. They ran right over them, bullied them, rushed for all types of yards. They just were not ready to play. So I'm sure they'll have a chip on their shoulder. They'll want to come out and show that they're a better team. They're playing at home now. Not playing. I think it was cold in Carolina that day. I think it was right before Christmas or something like that. No excuse, but I think they'll be ready to go, and I think they'll come out and they'll play well.
That seems like a game or something that's going to be on Dan Campbell's mind. This guy, he must be fun to play for. I read a quote that he said, "We're still hunting," basically, I'm paraphrasing, "we're still hunting. Just when you think you're hunting us, we're standing on your front door." How he's motivating these guys, isn't he?
Yeah, they're following his lead. He's a fiery guy, gritty guy. That's kind of their mantra. That's kind of what they stand on. And the players are backing him. They're taking on that mentality. And they just got a chip on their shoulder. Last year they were expected to be a lot better than they were, and coming off the hard knocks and just the momentum. And it didn't start out that way. It was 1-5 or 1-6, and it was spiraling downhill. And they just kept sticking with it and grind it out and finish off good, right? And so now I think they just got that chip on their shoulder and just really, really going out and focusing on themselves and not worrying so much about all of the hoopla, the media, the expectations, just really going out and playing good football. And that's what they've been doing, the first quarter of the season. And so hopefully the second quarter of the season can get started the same way.
Well, last year the Lions had an explosive offense led by, well, a resurgent Jared Goff, but also kind of the mastermind, or a lot of people see a future head coach in the making, in Ben Johnson. But it was the defense that really struggled to kind of make them a complete team. This year, the Lions defense, and this has got to be fun for a defensive guy to see them playing like this. A good part of their success this year comes from a strong defensive performance. They're top 5 in yards allowed, arguably the best rushing defense in the league. I think statistically they are. I didn't double check that. But this, and look, they got Aiden Hutchinson, who is right now playing as best as any defensive player in the league. How is this defense? How have they kind of rallied and improved this defense from last year to this year?
Well, I mean, they've just got some better players, and players have gotten better and older and more experienced. Aiden Hutchinson being in his second year, that helps, but then you draft a guy like a Brian Branch who can man the nickel position for you, who's a safety. So he's good enough, he's big enough to be effective in the run game for your run defense, but he's also good enough and quick enough to be able to cover these slot receivers and these tight ends. So that helps your defense. Drafting the Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone being a year older, more experienced. It hurt, yes, losing CJ Gardner-Johnson, the safety that they, paid to come in and be that leader. But it helps to also have a guy like Tracy Walker, who you paid a couple years ago to be that guy, who's coming off an injury, who's played well the last 2 weeks as well. So they just got better. They went out in free agency and got some veteran corners. They got Cam Sutton. I know Emmanuel Mosley hasn't played yet from San Francisco, but they went out and got some veteran corners. Jerry Jeudy has played well. He had 2 interceptions last week against Green Bay. So those guys are really just playing well. I don't know if they have, any just huge names outside of maybe Aiden Hutchinson. But they just play really good, hard-nosed defense. They play as a group. They play as a team. Good pass rush, linebackers flying around, and the secondary making plays that need to be made.
Aaron Glenn, I guess, kind of, had a rough go as a coordinator for the first little bit, but now it really seems like he's gotten this defense coalescing. That's a guy we saw in Hard Knocks have a lot of fun with. Our guy, Deuce Staley. Now, what are your impressions of how Aaron Glenn has put this defense together, and what's the kind of style that they're trying to use to limit these teams from week to week?
Well, I mean, he's done a great job, because being a coordinator is hard. You go through tough times. Your defense is not performing well, and everybody's gunning for your neck, right? They want you out of there. They want this. They want that. They won't change. And he stuck to his guns. He's made some changes. I think in the Seattle game, they got caught doing a lot of fire zones and just different coverages where you had your rushers dropping back in coverage. Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, those guys were dropping back in coverage, and Seattle kind of picked us apart. We didn't get any sacks against Seattle other than 1, and they were playing with 2 backup tackles. And so he came back the next week and really changed up kind of how he attacked Atlanta, things that he done differently against Green Bay, and we were able to get sacks, plenty of sacks, and create some turnovers. And so I think he's just been adjusting and learning and continuing to get better. And his guys continue to believe in him. They continue to play hard for him, and they're just going to continue to get better the more consistent that they can be.
I got to say, it's I wouldn't have thought I would say this years ago, but I'm kind of jealous of the Lions right now, right? And the reason being is you've got this really interesting mix of, like you said, veteran players, but also these young players that are also contributing right away. Jared Goff has really found a home in Detroit, and he's playing really well. I know last week he had some interceptions, and he's interested in taking over the ball. But how are the Lions going and getting all these young players? Have they just had so many picks that they've accumulated over years that they just can't miss? I don't know. The Panthers can't seem to get any late round players right, or at least that contribute. And now you guys got like Jameson Williams sitting on the bench, basically. Now, let's talk about him for a moment. This guy is a guy who can fly, somebody who the Panthers could probably benefit if he was on their team. He was coming off a 6-game suspension that was reduced to 4 games, but also kind of battled through injuries last year. This guy is a real player. They easing him in to the offense, or is it because Reynolds and St. Brown are playing so well that he's just going to have to earn his role in this offense?
I think it's a little bit of both, but St. Brown play a different position than
Right.
Jameson. But
Slot,
Jameson, right? Jameson just provides a different dimension to the offense. Jameson being on the field opens up more things for St. Brown, opens up more things for Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, and he gives you that ability to have that one play 65, 70-yard touchdown, whereas the Lions have been having to have, drives being put together outside of maybe a big play here or there to Khalif Raymond, right? So having Jameson Williams back, yeah, you want to make him earn it, make him, show, that he can be somebody that we can count on, dependable, practice well, make big catches in the games. But I definitely think they're in a position where they can work him back in. Obviously, he hasn't played in 4 weeks. Although he did get to go through training camp, so it's not like he's just been sitting around coming off of injury like he was last year. He went through training camp. His body should be good. He got a 4 or 5 week rest period. Well, I guess not playing games. I'm sure he's still been working out, getting himself ready to go, because like I said it earlier this week, I'm pretty sure with them changing the rules for the gambling policy, the fact that it affected him, I'm pretty sure his agents had some kind of inside clue a couple weeks earlier that, hey, they're going to be talking about this gambling policy, and they may change some stuff up to where your suspension may get reduced, right?
What went on with that?
I honestly don't really even know. I think he was gambling on some college games at NFL, like in the parking lot. So he got caught for, I guess, gambling on NFL property.
Okay.
Which is now just a 2-game suspension. But if you get caught gambling, I guess, on your own team or on NFL games, I think with your own team, I guess it's like a 2-year suspension.
Right.
But gambling on the premises for college is still suspendable offense, but it's only 2 games. So with that being said, they reduced his suspension from 6 games to 4 games, and we were already in the 4th week. So he gets to come back. But I'm sure, like I said, he probably knew that 2 weeks early, and they were just sitting around waiting for the official, decision to be made. So I look for him to be ready to go. They're going to work him in, I'm sure that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him get 20, 25 snaps this week. And, at least 2 or 3 times that they try to hit him deep. Not saying that they're going to throw it, but 2 or 3 times they'll try it. And like I said, just his presence and what he can bring to that offense, I think it opens up more things underneath for those guys. I just envision when Kansas City's offense was at its peak, right? You had the Tyreek Hill, you had the Mecole Hardmans, the guys that could get deep down the field. It opened up more space underneath for your Travis Kelce's, for your guys, your running backs coming out the backfield and things like that. So I just see that type of offense, having guys, Khalif Raymond, Jameson Williams getting downfield, opportunities for big plays, and then having Sam Laporta underneath as a tight end, Amon-Ra St. Brown underneath as a tight end, Jahmyr Gibbs coming out the backfield, David Montgomery pounding the rock. I think this offense can be really explosive if they can stay healthy.
Speaking of Sam Laporta, man, what a incredible start he's had. What makes this guy, what's lent to his success so early in the league, and what makes him a special tight end right now?
I mean, he catches the ball. He's where he's supposed to be, and he plays hard. At the end of the day, that's really what you have to do as a tight end. You got to be where you're supposed to be, because you want the quarterback to be able to depend on you. right? When you show that you are a dependable person, and it's not just on the field. I'm pretty sure he's in the weight room when he's supposed to be. I'm pretty sure he's in the meeting room. I'm pretty sure he knows what he's doing, his checks, because Jared Goff is comfortable with him. If you're going through practices and he's not where he's supposed to be, he's missing meetings, he's missing weights, he's doing things that shows you that he's not really locked into what he's supposed to be doing, then the quarterback doesn't trust you, right? The team, the coaches don't trust you. So for you to be a rookie and to be put in those situations, that means you're taking care of your business off the field and on the field, and they trust you. And so as a tight end, you create a safety blanket for the quarterback, especially if they trust you. They're going to look for you. If they can't get the big play, you know what? We got a guy underneath. I get it to Sam 5-yard pass. He can turn it into a 15, 20-yard gain because he can run. He can make guys miss. He's a big guy, so he can break tackles from safeties and things like that. So he's just been catching the ball, being where he's supposed to be, and proving that he can be a reliable guy that you can depend on. And at the end of the day, that's what most quarterbacks want, and coaches.
It seems like Jared Goff, well, not seems like, he's having a renaissance right now. Some people wrote him off as a bridge quarterback for the Detroit Lions. And right now, if we're going to talk real briefly in just a moment about the schedule coming up, I can see why Lion fans are excited about what this team could be this season. Jared Goff is really just settling in, and maybe Laporta's success has to do or lends a lot towards Goff's ability to just kind of deal with every situation. How well is he playing right now, and what do you see kind of him and his role with the Lions going forward? Is this something now that you could see Goff being around for the next 2 or 3 years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Jared Goff has been playing well. He's been phenomenal. I mean, he had a long streak of no interceptions. Yes, I know he's thrown an interception, I think, in the last 3 games, but that's going to happen most of the time as a quarterback. I think you can get to the point to where, hey, if I can go 15, 16 games without an interception,
That's
and then
incredible.
go 3 games in a row where I throw 1 or maybe 2, but we still go 2-1 in those games, and then I can go back on another 15-game streak, I think I'll take those, those chances with that. So he's been playing well. He fits what they want to be. He manages the game really well for them. He can make plays, and he doesn't seem to have an ego. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes when you're playing on a big stage in LA, you can feel like you have to do a lot to live up to the quarterback for a team in LA, right?
Right.
Now you're in Detroit, kind of laid back, kind of chill, got to kind of put that chip on your shoulder, right? You low key, and hey, man, he's been playing well. He fits, like I said, exactly what they want to do. This offense, fits his style of play, the throws that he can make, and when you can run the ball efficiently and play good defense, and you can come out of a game throwing the ball 25 to 28 times. I mean, a lot of times you're going to be efficient. That means you're running the ball well, you play action, and so that means you're probably throwing the ball to wide open guys, because the play action game is taking the linebackers out the way. So he's been doing well, man. They love him as a leader. He's been great in the locker room, great off the field for those guys. So it just was when you look back, I mean, it worked out for both teams, right? The Rams got Stafford. That's what they felt like they needed to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl.
He's playing really well right now, too.
Right, and they won a Super Bowl, and Stafford still playing well, helping out those young guys out there in L.A. And then the Lions got Goff, who, like you said, maybe he didn't come in as somebody that they felt like would be their future, but they're realizing, hey, man, this guy is really good. Obviously, he was a number 1 pick for a reason, right? So, hey, he's really good. He's playing well. He fits what we want, who we are. Let's roll with it.
Speaking of that style and play, another good room that has that type of mix of young, or not young and old, but veteran and rookie is the running back room. You said that's so important to the Detroit offense, and really that is where Goff's bread and butter comes off on the play action type passes. Man, David Montgomery, I hate calling a dude who's 25 old. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but it seems like now, I guess if you're not 21 in the NFL, you're a little long in the tooth. David Montgomery is a veteran though, and he's been playing pretty damn well. I think averaging like a little over 4 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns. And so much so that you peek around the message boards for Lions fans and they're going, where's this Jahmyr Gibbs guy at? How are we going to get him involved? Man, gotta be a good gluttony of riches there.
Oh yeah, I mean that running back room has been doing well. You know, David Montgomery missed the game, but Jahmyr Gibbs was able to get more carries and get more touches and get more comfortable. And I like what they're doing. You know, yeah, we all would love to see Jahmyr Gibbs get more touches. He's an explosive guy, right? He's a home run hitter. He's somebody that could change the scoreboard quickly, right? But it's a long season. It's a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
long season. So I like, if I don't have to wear him out early in the year, I like bringing them along slowly because, man, that's gonna be amazing to have him fresh in November and December when you're really trying to make that playoff run and go deep in the playoffs and see what happens, right? So if I don't have to use him because I got more weapons, I got a bunch of weapons, and we can just continue to bring him on slowly and find mismatches for him. I like that. I think it'll pay off for the Lions in the long run. And the fans might not be happy now, but it's probably like, fans when you draft offensive linemen, they're never happy until you got the best O line in the
Yeah.
NFL, and now they love it.
Or we're all wishing we would have when we have the worst one like the Panthers do right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is you're right. Is one thing Jahmyr Gibbs can do is not be forced into having to take such a large role on and get. I guess pass protection would be is the difficult part for a rookie running back to kind of learn. So is that when they can put him in places to succeed, I'm sure that's going to get him playing with confidence down the road and down the stretch. And there is going to be a point later in the season when you guys are going to have to open it up and make that late push. But boy, you look at this schedule right here. I got to say, probably the best thing that could happen to the Lions last year was getting that whooping from the Panthers, because this isn't some sort of trap game at this point. That they
Right.
really understand that, hey, man, we can lose on any given Sunday to a team that might not even be as good or be inferior to us. But right now, the Lions, they've got the Panthers at home. They go on the road to the Bucks, which while the Bucks are playing hard, that should be a winnable game. You got Ravens on the road, probably the toughest on that bunch. Raiders at home. Raiders at home. Chargers, tough game. But then you get the Bears, the Packers, the Saints. You guys really, you got the Cowboys way deep and the Vikings deep twice in the last 3 games. You got the Vikings. This schedule could be set up for the Lions to make some noise late in the season.
I think so. And I think the way you make noise, in my opinion, at the end of the season is you have to win all these games that you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
Right. When I look at a schedule, there's games like that you're supposed to win. And there's games that, that's a good team. We're a good team. That's a 50-50 game, right? It could go either way.
Right.
And that's just being realistic, right? Yeah, you can sit here and say I'm a Lions fan, so yeah, they're going to win every game. That's probably not going to happen.
No one goes
right?
undefeated, really.
Right. So this game right here is a game that they should win. Going on the road to Tampa, that's a tough game, but they should win that game. And if you're going to be a good team, a good playoff team, you're going to have to win on the road. So getting a good early season task against Tampa, that's a game that they need to go win. Like you said, the Baltimore Ravens game, that's a 50-50 game, right? Can they get over that hump and beat a good team?
Chargers the same.
The Chargers, that's another good game, right? Good offensive team, good defensive team. Hey, they're going to be a hard team to beat. Can you win those games? But if you don't win those games, and now you're coming out of that, say what, 2-2, right? Say you beat the Panthers and the Bucks and you lose to the Ravens and the Chargers. Now you're what, 5-3, right? And then you got that, like you say, you got the Bears, you got the Saints, you got the Packers. You got to win those games. So now you're 8-3.
Broncos, yeah.
Right? The Broncos. Now you're 9-3, right? You got to win those games so that when you plan against the Cowboys and the teams that are good teams,
those put you over the hump rather than
right.
rather than cripple you. And that's really something that the Panthers are facing. And fans understand that fans are frustrated and they want to win all the time. And the Panthers started out 0-4. And a lot of those games were winnable games. They're the ones that, you're in them late too. and on paper you match up decently against them. It's when you go on the road and you got to play the Lions now. I mean, it's possible for the Panthers to go in their house and upset them, but man, you should have won the game. You should have won against Atlanta, So speaking of, we'll just finish up with this, I guess, or two last things is one. I saw that Brian Branch, who another rookie playing insane, he's missed practice today with an ankle. They held out St. Brown with abdomen. Do you think that these guys are just watching these guys and that they'll be good to go on Sunday?
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I mean, they're coming off of a long break. So this Wednesday is probably kind of like a light day for them. And then they'll come in Thursday and Friday and work. So seeing what the injury report looks like tomorrow will be a better indication than obviously Friday as you get into the weekend. But I think Brian Branch will go because like I said, I don't think they want to assume that they're just going to easily beat the Panthers.
Yeah.
So I think Brian will go if he's healthy and he's ready to go. But if they get off to a good start and the game kind of get out of hand, I could see them probably taking them out,
right,
and taking a St. Brown out. Some of those guys taking them out if the game get that way. But it's the NFL; it's never guaranteed to get that way. So you still got to go out and play the games. Doesn't matter what it look like on paper. You still got to go out and play the game.
Jim Caldwell is a senior assistant for the Carolina Panthers. Surprised you with that info earlier. But like right now, the Panthers are they interviewed, they were going to interview Ben Johnson, but he pulled his name out of the hat and said he was going to stay in Detroit. And then we were able to we got head coach Frank Reich, experienced. We then get Deuce Staley, Tom Walsh, another coach from the Lions. I want to talk to you about Caldwell. Is there any way you can text Caldwell and say, what the hell is going on with this Panthers offense for me? There's a great picture of you on the internet when I was making the thumbnail last night of Caldwell giving you a hug. I'm sure it's from the 11-5 season. You balled out those 2 years, I think. I know you dealt with an injury in one of those years. But, I mean, you go through and you read your stats. You were really putting up numbers. You were having fun. How was it playing under Jim Caldwell? Completely different personality than Dan Campbell.
Coach Caldwell was the best. He was a phenomenal coach. I got nothing but good things to say about Coach
I wanted
Caldwell.
him to be our head coach when we interviewed him.
I mean, he's a guy that, he's just gonna make you believe that you can get it done. And if you show him that you can get it done,
he's gonna
keep putting you in there.
Keep coming back to you.
You show that you can't get it done. He's gonna keep believing in you until you continue to show that you just can't get it done. And I love the fact that Coach Caldwell, one of the biggest things that I loved, when I first got to Detroit, Jim Schwartz was the head coach.
Right.
And the thing about Jim Schwartz that I didn't like was when you treat people like kids, they tend to act like kids. The thing that I liked about Coach Caldwell, when you treat people like men, they tend to act like men. And so I like the fact that when we would travel, Coach Caldwell didn't make us stay off in the boonies somewhere. No, we're going to stay in a nice hotel, probably downtown. We're going to enjoy being in the NFL. If you can't handle your business like a man, you just won't be here. I'm not going to punish the whole team.
There's somebody else that wants to.
Right. I'm not going to punish the whole team and make us stay out in the boondocks just because two people want to go out and not take care of their business, right? So I like that. And I feel like those are things that I like from Coach Caldwell. He just treated you like a man. The expectations were high. The demand was high. Go out and get it done. And if you can do those things, you're good. If you can't, then we're not going to punish everybody else. We're just going to find somebody that can.
He had success right out the gate as a head coach with you guys, right? I mean, that was
right. I mean, he took the same exact team. I was talking about this last night, and I don't know what we had on time, but the same exact team. I think the only starter on the team on the defense from 2013 to 2014 that was different was James Ahedibo. because they drafted Ziggy in 13. They had Sue in 13. We had Fairley in 13. James Jones signed when I signed there in 13. So we had him. Rasheem Mathis was there in 13. Slade got drafted in 13. Stephen Tulloch was there in 13. DeAndre Levy was there in 13. Ashley Palmer was there in 13. I was there in 13. The only starter I think that was different was James Ahedibo. You look at the offense. Calvin was there in 13. Golden Tate was new. I think Golden Tate came in 14. Reggie Bush was there. Jordan Bell was there. Stafford was there. A lot of these guys, a lot of those, he took the same guys, but we were 7-9. So he didn't come in and feel like he had to blow up the building. He just needed to tweak a couple things and make a couple guys play better. That was it. And we went from 7-9. We won some of those close games. You go to 10-6, 11-5 season with a top 5 defense, right? Matt Patricia come in after a 9-7 year and feel like I got to blow up the whole building. No,
it's almost like their egos, and I don't want to speak out of place because I don't know these people, but we just dealt with a guy who was a college coach, and it was a nightmare. To the fact that I think he was like controlling the team media and things like this. It almost from the outside for those guys, it seems like their egos get in the way, and that is that they have to. I don't know if it's insecurity that they have to prove and show that they're so important and why they're so critical to the success. But I always felt like this. It's kind of like your cool people. If you know cool people in your life, they don't act cool. They don't have to try to act cool. They just are cool, and so it seems like what you're saying with Caldwell is like, it's a quiet confidence. It's like, hey, I know I'm the smartest. Maybe not but he's just freaking smart as hell. He doesn't have to remind you that he's the smartest dude in the room all the time.
Right.
Can you really send them the text and say, what the hell is going on with this Panthers offense? Motivate them like you did that 11-5, or at least next year, get this team playing like that?
Well, he's just a senior assistant. So I don't know how much power he has. He kind of just maybe gives advice.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much power he has. I don't even know if he still got the same number. I reach out to him from time to time, but I haven't talked to him probably I know since he's been in Carolina, because I didn't even know he was in Carolina. So he may still have the same number. I don't know.
I'm the only Jim Caldwell fan. I wanted us to hire him for the head coaching job. I have a friend that go on the radio every Friday here in Greenville, North Carolina. We do an NFL bit and stuff. And he's like, man, why do you love because he's boring for people to talk about. It's like you go to the press conference, you're not going to get we're going to be on your front door hunting you instead type of thing. But hey, look, the Panthers got I joke this is that Jim Caldwell is black Frank Reich and Frank Reich is white Jim Caldwell. But anyway, you think where you see this game shaking out on Sunday?
It's the NFL, so it's very difficult, obviously. But I mean, if I'm just looking at the way the Lions have played, the way Carolina has played, the weapons that you guys have offensively, I think I predicted it to be a pretty big, lopsided win for the Lions. I think I gave you guys 10 points. I think I said you probably scored 10 points. I mean, you guys scored. Well, the offense didn't even score last week.
No, not at all. And we can't get the run going. And to think that we're going to all of a sudden get the run going against the top Russian defense, you make a rookie quarterback one-dimensional. It could be ugly.
Right. So, and defensively, you guys pretty tough. I think play okay, but I think the Lions, especially getting Jamison Williams back, I think they get a big boost, and so they've been scoring points. And so I think I put them, 35 or 42 to like 10 or something like that.
Holy moly, I
gave it a lopsider.
That's a track meet right there for you guys. All right, man. Glover Quin, tell them how you with Believe in Lions podcast. Tell them how they can get after you on either social media or find your podcast, your work. When's your next episode dropping?
I mean, we drop an episode before every game, after every game. We do all the shows. I mean, I'm on Instagram. You can find me Glover Quin. Twitter, Glover Quin Jr. I'm on TikTok. I'm everywhere. Doing a little bit of everything, podcasting. I do framing. I talk. I do it all. My dad.
Nice.
So I just have a good time with it. So yeah, but the Believe in Lions podcast, me and my co-host Jack Kavanaugh, we talk football twice a week, pregame show and a postgame show. So you can find us at the Believe Network or anywhere you listen to your podcast, and check us out.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks for joining the C3 Panthers podcast, folks. If you're listening, go ahead, smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. We'll be here on Friday for the Friday free for all. Tomorrow, the film study drops for everybody. It's out for the C3 super fans right now. And don't forget the Sunday post game show. Till then, keep pounding.